In the African nation of Nigeria, millions of Christians are persecuted by Islamic terror groups. The Nigerian government is doing very little to stop the attacks. Well, now religious freedom advocates, including one member of the U.S. Congress, are taking action. CBN's Kelly Wright has this look at the crisis.
On this very day, 210 persons were slaughtered in one night, in less than 24 hours.
The video from the Father's Day massacre includes graphic images of people being burned alive, families attacked, and homes destroyed in Yelawata, Nigeria.
That very day, it was raining, so Fulani herdsmen, they invaded the community and claimed so many lives.
Around 12 midnight, we started having calls from Yelawata that the Fulanis have come and they are killing, burning.
Friday night, I was leaving my house. See my house there. I come here, they shoot gun. Later, they come, they break this house where my brother is sleeping here with his children. Thereby, they come, they kill people. They were breaking the house. Say, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar.
These first-hand accounts gathered by Truth Nigeria journalists describe the ongoing atrocities in a terror campaign to eradicate Nigeria's Christians. Judd Saul, filmmaker and missionary, the organizer of Equipping the Persecuted, highlighted this documentary as a way to sound the alarm.
We need to fight this thing threefold. One, America as a government needs to get involved with a very little. I'm talking very little of our resources. If we just did the very little bit of push an aggressive foreign policy, throw some sanctions, whatever it takes, I think we can put a significant dent in this and put a stop to this.
U.S. Representative Chris Smith of New Jersey, who has traveled to many dangerous areas in Nigeria, has introduced a resolution in Congress to help stop attacks fueled by religious hatred.
There has been an exponential increase in attacks on Christians and some Muslims, but Christians in particular. Protestants, evangelicals, Catholics, they're firebombing their churches. The Fulani are killing them with absolute impunity. We've called on the government in Abuja and the president several times to do what governments do, law enforcement. Use the military if you have to, but stop this genocide and do it now.
The resolution points to Nigeria's government's apparent open border policy that allows almost free access to the country. Fulani militants and ISIS-linked extremist groups from neighboring countries take advantage of this policy to carry out mass murder, rape, and kidnappings.
We're also calling on President Trump to reissue, which he did in his first term, the designation of country of particular concern, and that then gives the president wide latitude to impose sanctions. It's an excellent bill when it's used properly. It gets the attention of all the policymakers, in this case in Abuja. It says, we're not kidding.
During a White House press briefing, I asked Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt about the crisis in Nigeria. And do you know if there's any action that the president will take?
I'm not tracking a call between the president and the head of Nigeria. I know the president wholeheartedly condemns the persecution of Christians or, frankly, of people of any faith all over the world, but I don't have any updates for you in terms of sanctions in this part of the world.
Looking beyond any government response, Judd Saul is calling on the church and Christians in America to stand with the persecuted in Nigeria.
They need to pray. They need to be a voice for the voiceless. They need to be a voice for our persecuted brothers and sisters.
Kelly Wright, CBN News.
Well, whatever pressure we can put on the Nigerian government, we need to put it on the Nigerian government. They're the one responsible for the safety of their own citizens, and to let these armed groups have sort of free reign in the northern part of Nigeria makes no sense, and I don't understand these sort of continual struggles coming out of Nigeria. You need to establish law and order in your own country. You can't have your women, your girls kidnapped. You can't have people murdered in the streets. You can't have these churches burned to the ground. All of that is happening, and it's happening on their watch. So whatever we can do as United States citizens to petition our government and to support this bill in Congress, and then move on the administration and the State Department to do the very necessary work of saying, look, it's time for you to stand up for your own people. It's time for you to protect Nigerians. So let's do our part, and hopefully the government there will respond and do.
Now to a News Nation exclusive investigation into a secret government experiment that was carried out in St. Louis. Residents tell us they still remember a mysterious fog. Children would run through it. Mothers would try and close their windows against it. For decades, they all had questions, and now we're seeking answers. The United States Army now admits that it sprayed a chemical that contained cadmium, a known carcinogen, on a neighborhood of more than 10,000 people. Critics say this was done with no warning and no consent. Well, tonight we return to the site of that demolished neighborhood and speak with former residents who believe the government turned them into human test subjects. Although the Army admits that the test happened, it is not admitted to harming the residents. News Nation's Natasha Zuvez investigates what was in the fog and why the truth may still be buried.
The fog drifted through the streets like a ghost.
That's exactly what it looked like, a thick fog.
It was summertime and it was hot. We would just run through it as fast as we could and try to just cool ourselves off. It stuck to you.
The spray was so foul as far as the odor. It made some of us have headaches, nausea, dizziness.
That's what I remember. It made me sick.
It wasn't the weather. It was an eerie smoke descending from rooftops, rolling from the backs of trucks.
Regular flatbed truck, but it had a big machine on the back. And it had a big nozzle that really sprayed a fog you couldn't even see through. It was that thick, and it really, we felt it as it would adhere to our skin. And as far as the guys on top of the buildings, they tried to portray them to us as maintenance workers. But we was like, what is a maintenance worker doing? And basically a hazmat suit. And they had masks and goggles.
In the 1950s and 60s, in secret, the U.S. Army sprayed zinc cadmium sulfide into the air of a St. Louis housing project, a largely black neighborhood called Pruitt-Igoe.
It was a lose-lose situation for us in Pruitt-Igoe. We were subjects. We were subjects.
They didn't ask for our permission. We didn't ask for them to spray us. My government used me like I was a guinea pig.
We're standing at where Pruitt-Igoe used to be here in St. Louis, and it's hard to believe more than 10,000 people used to live here. As we bring our drone up, you can see it's mostly just an empty lot now, overgrown with trees. This used to be filled with 33 high-rise buildings. It was all demolished in 1976. And according to the National Research Council, St. Louis was chosen for spraying experiments because it had similar characteristics to Soviet targets like Moscow in terms of population density and terrain and proximity to a river.
The government now admits to a secretive series of Cold War tests, including one dubbed large area coverage. More than 30 tests conducted across the U.S. and Canada, spraying zinc cadmium sulfide from planes, rooftops, and vehicles to simulate how a biological attack might spread, all to prepare for potential warfare against the Soviets.
Many of us been in the military and had top secret clearances. We know how it works.
We have died for America. We have fought for America.
You are a veteran.
I am United States Air Force veteran.
Dr. Starks, you're a veteran as well.
Yes, I am. I'm an Air Force veteran also.
Is there a sense of betrayal here?
Definitely, definitely.
They want to know if those secret tests have anything to do with what they're observing with their own eyes.
I lost my two older siblings to cancer. I lost a brother last month.
I've been diagnosed recently with a rare form of lymphoma.
I had cancer of the left kidney, had partial removal of my left kidney.
News Nation reached out to the Army for answers. They provided a one-page response. It says the Army's own Center for Health Promotion and Preventive Medicine investigated in 1994 and found inhalation exposure would not pose a health risk. They also cite later corroborating reviews, including a 1997 review by the National Research Council. Perhaps they assumed we wouldn't read the NRC's 380-page report, but we did, and the Army's statement doesn't show the full picture. In that 1997 review, the National Research Council explicitly says repeated exposure to zinc cadmium sulfide can cause kidney or bone toxicity or lung cancer if levels are high enough. And they admitted they couldn't fully assess the risk. Why? Because some Army records remain classified, it says, for national security reasons. More troubling, key Army exposure records were missing, and when the NRC asked the Army to supply them, the Army said it couldn't find them. Finally, the NRC considered conducting its own study, but concluded it wasn't feasible. In short, it did not test the site, collect samples, or test residents, and they didn't have access to all the data. Their review was based on what the Army gave them, and what the Army either could not find or withheld. The Army ends its statement to News Nation by saying, quote, none of the reports contained evidence of a radioactive component to the zinc cadmium sulfide dispersion tests. Residents say the secrecy and delays are no accident.
They're waiting us out. They're waiting on all of us to die.
They are now pushing wearables on the population and starting with external wearables and then going into internal wearables in the future. We do know as well, Gates Foundation funded what's called microneedle patch implants that install quantum dots in skin for about 5 years for use as vaccine passports. Again, this is on the National Library of Medicine website. So yeah, the plan appears to be going from external wearables, get them to wear that, and then you go into the internal wearables, these implants.
I am now about to launch Gideon, America's first ever AI threat detection platform built specifically for law enforcement. It scrapes the internet 24/7 using an Israeli-grade ontology to pull specific threat language and then routes it to local law enforcement. It's a 24/7 detective. It never sleeps, and it's going to get us in front of these attacks.
Would it have picked up on this, do you think?
100%. I wish my program would already be up. We're not launching until next week. I've got a dozen agencies on board, Trace. I just unloaded a major Northeast agency with over 2,700 sworn. This is America's early warning system.
Shocking leaks are spreading fast across the UK tonight. Hotel staff have secretly taken photos of the buffets being served daily to asylum seekers, and what they reveal has left the public furious. According to these images, trays are filled with hot meals, fresh fruit and desserts delivered every day under government contracts. While many British families struggle to pay rising food bills and school children line up for basic lunches, migrants are seen enjoying what many describe as restaurant-style service. One whistleblower, a staff member who requested anonymity, said, "The public has no idea. Every day, these buffets are set up, no questions asked. The costs are enormous, and taxpayers are footing the bill." The leaks have ignited a storm of outrage online. Some call it a humanitarian duty, while others see it as a scandalous misuse of public money at a time when the nation faces inflation, food insecurity, and cuts to social programs. Officials have yet to comment on the photos, but pressure is building. Activists are demanding transparency on exactly how much is being spent and why the public wasn't told. This is more than food on a table. It's a symbol of division, secrecy, and a system that many say is about to explode. Share before it disappears.
The Netherlands is in shock after the brutal murder of 17-year-old Lisa, who was returning from a party in Amsterdam on her bicycle. The girl called the police and said she was being followed. Unfortunately, before the patrol arrived at the scene, she was brutally murdered. The probable perpetrator was arrested shortly afterwards at the refugee center where he lived. The brutal murder of a 17-year-old girl has shocked the entire country. The Dutch media are reporting extensively on what happened on Tuesday night. Lisa left the center of Amsterdam around 3:30 a.m. after a night out with friends and was riding her bike home when she noticed that someone was following her. The 17-year-old called the national emergency number. The police located the teenager using her phone, but it was too late. When the team arrived at the scene at 4:15 a.m., Lisa's dead body was found in a ditch on the side of the road. The teenager was brutally murdered. The perpetrator is a 22-year-old man. The authorities and media have not disclosed his ethnicity, but it is known that he was detained by the police at a refugee center where he was living illegally. He is suspected of 2 other violent sex crimes. The crime sparked a nationwide debate on safety. The slogan, "Right to the Night," has become a symbol of protest against growing violence against women in the Netherlands, as well as against blaming victims, for example, for provoking with their appearance or being in the wrong part of town at the wrong time. We all have 24 hours in a day, 24 hours that we can use however we want, wherever we want. Meanwhile, in the United Kingdom, protests are sweeping through many cities, including London, Liverpool, and Newcastle, against the state-funded hotel accommodation of tens of thousands of asylum seekers. Regular protests have also been held outside the Bell Hotel in Epping, Essex, after an asylum seeker staying there was accused of sexually assaulting a 14-year-old girl. The government in London is legally obliged to accommodate asylum seekers in hotels, which in recent years has generated increasing costs and met with increasingly strong criticism. According to Home Office data published on Thursday, the number of asylum seekers accommodated in hotels stood at just over 32,000 at the end of June. This figure is up 8% from around 29,500 a year earlier. This is a discussion about costs, but also about internal security. A similar discussion is also taking place in the United States. After sending the National Guard to fight crime in Washington, D.C., it is now to be sent to Chicago for the same purpose.
So, I really am honored that the National Guard has done such an incredible job working with the police. And we haven't had to bring in the regular military, which we're willing to do. We have to. And after we do this, we'll go to another location and we'll make it safe also. We're going to make our country very safe. We're going to make our cities very, very safe.
Next year, the European Migration Pact is to come into force in Poland. The costs associated with accepting illegal migrants are currently estimated at nearly 1.5 billion zloty. At the same time, Poland is already seeing an increase in organized crime and crimes committed by foreigners.
Epstein surrounded himself, with the most powerful leaders of our country and the world. He abused not only me, but countless others, and everyone seemed to look away. The truth is, Epstein had a free pass. He bragged about his powerful friends, including our current president, Donald Trump. It was his biggest brag, actually. And while what I endured will haunt me forever, I live every day with PTSD. I live as a mother trying to raise my child while distrusting a world that has betrayed me. This kind of trauma never leaves you. It breaks families apart. It shapes the way we see everyone around us. But one thing is certain, unless we learn from this history, monsters like Epstein will rise again. There are files, government files, that hold the truth about Epstein, who he knew, who owed him, who protected him, and why he was allowed to operate for so long without consequence. Why was Maxwell the only one held accountable when so many others played a role? Why does the government hide this information from the public? This secrecy is not protection, it's complicity. And as long as the truth is buried, justice will remain out of reach. That is why this bill matters. Passing it will, bless you, ensure that the suffering of survivors is not in vain. Passing it will bring accountability, transparency, and prevention. It will help protect the next generation of predators who seek to place themselves above the law through wealth, influence, and connections. This is not just my story. It is about every survivor who carries invisible scars. It's about the weight we live with daily. It is about the families broken and the future stolen. So I ask you, President Trump and members of Congress, why do we continue to cover up sexual abuse and assault? Who are we covering for? Let the public know the truth. We cannot heal without justice. We cannot protect the future if we refuse to confront the past. Thank you.